Hey, what up, everybody? Stephen Breach coming to you. You know, we got the big WrestleMania pre-sale tomorrow morning. You got the big WrestleMania ticket party on Friday. So I thought no time better than now to make a little video hyping up WrestleMania 31, talking about, all the big things that might happen. And everybody always wants to know, what legends are going to be wrestling at WrestleMania. Every year, we get to see Triple H come back and have a match. And I know sometimes they'll have matches throughout the year, but the big WrestleMania one is always the biggest. No news on if Undertaker is going to be returning. There was things in the news today about Hulk Hogan and Sting having matches. Who are the guys that are going to be coming back? Normally, I'm sort of down on these guys coming in for these one-time appearances that aren't there throughout the year because they hold down the guys like, Kofi Kingston is one guy that I've always sort of stuck up for in the past. Cesaro didn't get a match at WrestleMania 29. But this year I'm looking at the way WWE's been doing things, and I mean, especially if you look at the championship picture, there's only been, just a handful of guys, and even if you include main events where the championship wasn't there, really just you get the Shield guys in there, and that's really just about it. I mean, Cena and Orton, Daniel Bryan, maybe you can even say Kane because of the Extreme Rules match. Those are the only guys that have really been in the main event picture that you really have to lock down of being in there. Everybody else has been on that seesaw booking back and forth. So I say, try to make WrestleMania 31 as big as you can get. And, use Sting, use Hogan, use Undertaker if you can. The Rock is a guy that I think even I have questioned if he's going to be at WrestleMania 31 this year. I was thinking because of the plans of Brock Lesnar being champion at WrestleMania, I was saying basically that, The Rock would have to make a surprise return. I didn't really hear anything about Rock returning for anything. So I sort of made a video a couple months ago sort of counting The Rock out, just saying basically, he's not going to be there. Maybe he'll be the Hall of Famer that goes into the Hall of Fame this year, but no way. And then honestly, from that video, the next week on Monday Night Raw, The Rock showed up on Raw, calling out Rusev, and they had the little fisticuffs, and no real news if basically there's going to be a Rock versus Rusev match. I sort of think they just used him in the one spot because it was the easiest place to gain heat. It was the easiest way to sort of stop storylines because of the flag dropping with Big Show. They were able to say he was suspended, and the thing really worked. Rusev and not Rusev, it was Lana and The Rock going back and forth. That was good money. I mean, that was something everybody really got behind. Everybody got to see something special that night in New York. Well, I guess it was in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. And it's just funny how things work out. They didn't ask him to be there. They just found out he was going to be there, and it all just came together. Just one of those wrestling miracles that we got to take place of. I think basically Rusev versus The Rock at WrestleMania doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's a match that could happen. I don't think it's a match that everybody wants to happen. I think if you want to see something and wants to be as big as possible, Rock versus Brock is, billboard worthy. I mean, that's something you see up on a billboard throughout towns. Make sure you give the WWE Network. Make sure you see this because this is a match. I know we saw this in 2002, and it's 12 years later. WrestleMania comes around to be 13 years later. But I think it still adds up. Brock Lesnar still has name value. Him beating The Undertaker, winning the championship from John Cena, honestly, in my mind, sort of kicked him up a notch. I was really thinking WWE really wasn't getting their money's worth out of him. But some things got to happen, and the things that got to happen, people aren't really going to like in order for this match to happen, because I think basically you can't do Rock versus Brock, because if Rock wrestles Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, it means it has to be for the WWE Championship. Lots of news out there about basically WWE not being able to re-sign Brock Lesnar after WrestleMania, and he's going to be leaving, more than likely going back to UFC for dream fights, and not winning any, but fighting in fights and making big paydays over there. If that's really going to happen, I don't really see them putting the championship on The Rock, because I don't really see The Rock showing up to Extreme Rules and wrestling, and I don't really see him getting cashed in on by Seth Rollins on the Monday night after Raw. It just would seem sort of funny for The Rock to win the championship at WrestleMania, have that big moment, show up to Monday Night Raw, get jumped by the authorities, Seth Rollins pin the man, and then we don't get to see The Rock again until next year when WrestleMania rolls around. So I think, honestly, you have to see with John Cena, taking that number one contendership, and I know that their plans are for Brock Lesnar not to wrestle until the Royal Rumble, but the Royal Rumble plans, the press release came out saying that basically Roman Reigns and John Cena were going to be the two competitors in the Royal Rumble that had the most chance of winning and going on to WrestleMania to face the champion. So maybe that's what I thought, that John Cena would take on Brock Lesnar at TLC, and that's where he would win the championship. I know people would rather set themselves on fire than see John Cena beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. That's the only way I think you're going to be able to see Rock versus Brock, unless you get to see Seth Rollins cashing in on Brock Lesnar. I know we saw him attempt to do this on pay-per-view, but I don't think that they're really going to go through with that plan and make that happen. Somehow Brock needs to lose the championship in order to have Brock versus Rock as your supercard style match and have it on the WrestleMania pay-per-view. Lots of other things that could happen. Rock versus Triple H. Some people think that they might do some sort of an angle where Vince and Triple H are torn at the sides, and Triple H and Stephanie are trying to use their authority power to push Vince out the door, maybe saying that you can't do it anymore. Vince is going to be able to wrestle. Maybe The Rock will step in for Vince and take on Triple H. I think that's a match that we saw hyped up on SmackDown. I don't really think that's a match that you throw up on billboards. It's sort of a match from the year 2000, 2001. That was really good, and that really sold pay-per-views because the Triple H was at the top of his game, and I still think he's a damn good wrestler, and I still think The Rock is a damn good buy, but I don't think that's one that really gets people fired up. Brock versus Rock is the match that has to happen. They gotta have Rock beat Brock. No, I apologize. They gotta have... Oh, fuck, I fucked up. They gotta have Cena beat Brock somewhere along the way. Either that or you're going to end up with Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. And I think that, honestly, people would rather see Cena beat Brock and him be the champion than Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble and going on and doing it. But then again, Roman Reigns might have a huge comeback coming after his return from his hernia surgery, and maybe people will be wanting to see him. All I can remember is that at SummerSlam, he was going up against Randy Orton, and that crowd really turned on him. And I know that, the SummerSlam was held in LA this year. It's not that far away from Staples. I think the same people that travel to the Staples Center or went to the Staples Center more than likely will be going to Santa Clara to seeing WrestleMania 31. So that's more than likely the same crowd response he was going to get if it wasn't for that hernia surgery. But maybe the people are ready to turn once he comes back.